So we have implemented the login screen. Now it's time that we implement the OTP screen. So here is our OTP screen. At first, we do have some headings like welcome back, and the OTP has been sent to this phone number. And then here is our OTP field. Then there is a button that I didn't receive a code. And at the bottom, we do have two buttons, one for previous screen and one for authentication. So let's implement this screen. So we'll head over to code. In the common section, view auth screens, we will go with a new file and name it OTP Screen dot. Here we will go with a stateful widget and name it OTP Screen. And we will remove this two lines of code, and instead we will import material here. Okay, so let me go to any other screen, copy the material, and yeah, it's good to go. Okay, so instead of placeholder here, we will be returning a scaffold, safe area, scaffold, and here comes our body. So the body gonna be a list view, children, we have to remove this const. Yeah, so here we will introduce padding, edge insets dot symmetric, horizontal it's gonna be 3.w, and vertical it's gonna be 2.h. Let's save. Yeah, so first thing we're gonna go with that welcome text. Here it will be welcome, and the styling it's going to be app style body 18. And then we want to introduce a little bit of free space here, so we'll go with sized box with a height of 2.h. And then comes another text, and here we will go with enter the 6-digit code sent to you at desired phone number. So here we want to introduce the phone number of the user. So to introduce the phone number, we do need to introduce a auth controller here. So we'll, in the common controller folder, we will introduce a new file naming it auth provider dot class auth provider extends change notifier. So here we will introduce string phone mobile number, and another one will be string verification code. Here we will introduce two functions, update mobile number, string number, mobile number equals number notify listeners. So here we want to add question mark here because initially our variable is going to be null. So here instead of update mobile number, it will be update verification code. Here it will be code, and here it's going to be verification code. Okay, we will save it here. We will close the OR divider and we will close the auth provider. Now we come up here. Here we will go with context dot read auth provider. So we do need to import the auth provider. So we'll import auth provider dot mobile number, and yeah, we have to update this u, and we'll come up here and we will also update the u here. And here we do want to introduce the styling. So style app text style dot small. Okay, it's going to be small 10. Let's save it and let's come up here in the main and go with OTP screen. Let's save it and have a look. Okay, so here it says it can't find the provider. So we'll come up in the main, copy this line of code, paste up here, and it's going to be auth provider. Copy, paste. Okay, so we have to update this name. Mobile auth provider. Copy, paste, paste. Import. So let's come up here to the auth provider screen and update this to a small letter O. And come up in OTP screen. It's going to be mobile auth provider. Let's save it and let's have a look. Okay, here it says enter the 6-digit code sent to you, and it's null right now. So no worries, it's null because we haven't introduced the phone number yet. So let's move on. Now we will introduce a little bit of free space. Height, it's going to be 4.h, and then comes our OTP pin code field. So for this OTP pin fields, I am using a package. Let's go to PubSpec and have a look onto that package, pin code fields. So I'm using this package. We will come up into our OTP screen and introduce pin code text field. So app context, it's going to be context, and length, it's going to be 6. So our OTP will be comprised of 6 characters basically. So the length going to be 6. So there comes obfuscate text false, and then comes up animation type. It's going to be animation type dot fade. Let's save them. And then comes up text style. It's going to be app text style body 14, and then comes up pin theme. So inside pin theme, we're gonna introduce these fields. So you copy them out, and the next thing we're gonna do is animation duration. So here it's going to be const duration milliseconds, and it's going to be 300. And the next coming up, background color, it's going to be transparent, and then enable active fill, it's going to be true. Arrow animation controller. So here we do have this arrow animation controller, so we do need to introduce something here. And then controller, we also do need to introduce a controller here, that is text editing controller. And then comes up on complete. So it's basically whenever we fill up the entire 6-digit code, what it's gonna do. So here we will go with value, and coming up next on change. Okay, suppose there we do some changes, then what it's gonna do. And at last comes up before text paste, and it's going to be text, and it's going to be return true. Okay, so now we do need to introduce some variables here. So I will come up here, copy them out, and let's go to the top here and paste. So here we have introduced a int num, then comes up text controller, and then comes up arrow controller. So let's come down here. Controller, it's going to be OTP controller, and here it's going to be arrow controller. Okay, so we are done with our pin code fields. Let's save it, and let's take a glimpse of it. Okay, it's look good. So we do need a little bit more rounded. Let's take it to 10.sp. Okay, we have to reload our app to make sure it looks good. Yeah, so here again, as you can see, we do have this rounded borders. It looks good now. So I think so 5sp was going good. And now it's time we do have our pin code. Here we do need to go with a button that I didn't receive a code. And then at last we do have to introduce 2 buttons here. So let's make it. So after this pin code field, we do need to introduce a little bit of free space. Height, it's going to be 3.h. And comes next container, it's going to be adding edge insets dot symmetric. Horizontal, we're gonna go with 5.w. Vertical, we're gonna go with 0.5.h. Child, it's going to be text. So here we will go with a condition. So basically we have introduced a num here, that is num 60. So it's basically tracks that like within 60 seconds did we receive the code, or we do need to click the button to get a new updated code. So we will come up here and we will make sure till the time 60 seconds haven't been over, we don't give the user that option to click the button to get a new OTP. So here we'll go with a condition num greater than 0, then show something else, show another thing. So if num is greater than 0, then so if num is greater than 0, it's going to say I didn't receive a code, and here we want to introduce the num. And if it's less than 0 or equals to 0, we want to go with this button, like the text which it's gonna show is this, that I didn't receive the code, and there will be no numberings like the 0 zeros, num, those stuff. So we want to make sure that whenever the users land on this page, the counting starts. Okay, so we're gonna write a function here for the counting, and we're gonna name it as decrease num. decrease num. And the first thing it's going to do is it will check if num is greater than 0, then future dot delayed const duration seconds 1, and then set state num equals to num minus 1, and then it should again call decrease num function. So to run this function, that is decrease num, as soon as we land on this OTP screen, we will come up here, and inside init state we will go with this, like we will introduce the function name decrease num. And as soon as we exit this screen, we want to make sure we dispose the controller, the OTP controller, and let's save it. And yeah, and here we do need to add a little bit of decoration to this container, so we'll go with decoration, box decoration, border radius. It's going to be border radius dot circular 50.sp, and the color is going to be gray shade 3. Let's save it and let's have a look. Okay, it's the container size is too long, so we want to make sure that we wrap our container inside a row. Now let's save it. And yeah, so here this container, it has a horizontal padding of 5. Let's make it 3. And to this container, we do want to introduce a new widget, that is ink well. And we want to make sure on tap it calls the recent OTP function. And yeah, we are done with this much. So next we want to make sure here we do have 2 buttons, one to go back to the login screen, one to carry forward for the verification, OTP verification. So we will come up top, and here in scaffold we want to introduce floating action button. Let's go with a row widget here. Children, we will go with elevated button common. Child, it's going to be icon, icons dot arrow back, color it's going to be black. We have to move this child property to last, and here on pressed it's going to be nothing for now. Let's save it. Let's background color, it's going to be white. Height is going to be, let's say 6.h. Width is going to be 6.h. And let's save it, and let's have a look like how it looks like. Okay, so here we do have another thing we do want to make sure is border radius. So we want to go with a border radius of 50.sp, and let's save it. Okay, so you might have noticed that our button is like it's inside of the screen, it's overlapping with the screen borders. So let's introduce a little bit of padding here. We will introduce padding to the row, and we will go with padding dot only. Left it's going to be 5.w. I think so 5 is going to be fine. Let's save it, and yeah, looks good. Now let's introduce a little bit of more padding. I think so 10 it's going to be good. Okay, 10 is too much. 8. So we want to go with the same thing. We will copy this elevated button, paste up here. We will copy this elevated button, paste up here, and the child here, it's going to be a row, children, text, it's going to be continue, style, it's going to be app text style. I think so body 12 will be good, small 12. And the next comes up sized box. Here we will go with a width of 2.w, and we will introduce an icon here. Icon, icons dot arrow forward. The color is going to be black, and let's save it. So we might have missed something here. Okay, let's save it. Let's have a look like how it looks like now. Okay, we do have this continue button, we do have this back button. Now we do need to introduce spacing in between them. So we'll go with main axis alignment dot space between. We will come up here, and yeah, it looks good. We do have the OTP field, we do have this I didn't receive a code, and then this continue. So next thing we do want to implement here is, in this I didn't receive a code, we want to introduce styling, app text style. I think so 12 will be good. Let's save it. Okay, 12 is too much. 10 will be good. Copy with color num greater than 1. Then we will go with gray, else we will go with black. Let's save. I think so black 37, 38, it will be a right choice. Yeah. So let's reload this screen and make sure this OTP thing runs smoothly. Okay, here as you can see, the timer started, and the moment we will be 0 or below 0, it's going to display the entire thing in black. So yeah, our OTP screen is done.